Ren, for a relationship to work, there needs to be a balance. An imbalance can cause your relationship to lose touch with reality, things that aren't there, and eventually fall apart. That is to say, if one of you is falling apart, your relationship will as well.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. Did you steal that quote from Garnet from Steven Universe?
Roll the intro!
Welcome back to TCR On Air, the podcast where we talk about anything and everything. I'm your host today, Agent Lily, aka Faith, and I'm here with Leaf, aka Mx Codered, Arma, also known aka Ren, Tangerin, aka Aaron, the other one.
Did you forget my code name?
Incarone, also known aka Ryan. There we go. I did it. Woo!
Okay, so we all agree never to let Faith go. Yeah.
Yeah, please don't let me do this every time. We're talking about animation again. The second one. Last time we talked about anime and 80s reboots. So today we are going to stick to our roots and focus on some modern gems of animation. Leaf forced me to throw in a pun because we're going to be talking about Steven Universe.
Whoa! How on earth did you jump to that conclusion?
Don't ever let me do this again.
You tried your very best.
I'm handing the microphone over. Somebody else take it, please.
Okay.
Please take it.
Okay, I'll take it. Don't worry, Ryan will edit it to make it sound so confident and super good.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to make you look bad.
Yeah. Okay, so as Faith expertly said, we are talking about animation once again, but since we accidentally went way too far off on about anime and old stuff, we're going to talk about some of our actual favorite shows that we watch, or at least watched on a regular basis. Going to stick to mainly shows from like the last 10 years that were just exceptionally good in our eyes. And as Faith said, the first one is her and I's personal, or at least my favorite from the last decade, was my favorite, Steven Universe. You couldn't tell from the fact that Faith already said that, and that was the stolen quote from our introduction. Okay, this is the part where I give you the play-by-play of the entire lore of the series. So, starting about 7,000 years before the start of the series.
Oh no!
Faith, do you want to talk about Steven Universe, or are you camera shy now?
It's fine. Steven Universe, great show. Loved it. Love it. Sad it's over. Cried. Bawled my eyes out, actually.
That's true. I was a witness.
Yeah. That's actually how we bonded together, was through Steven Universe.
We bonded over it ending.
Yeah. I think that's what made it even more special, actually.
I would agree. That didn't make it special. Yeah, it had a very long run of a whole, 7 years, I think? Yeah. 2013.
Plus all the hiatuses.
Yeah, well, not counting the hiatuses, it would have been way less than that. But ran from 2013 to 2020. I genuinely don't remember. Don't ask me what numbers are, because I don't know. Listen, I just don't know, okay? But I do know that it was really good. It was not perfect. It had many, many technical flaws, a lot of art style inconsistencies, a lot of creative contradictory liberties, and got screwed over by the studio so many times. But it was still super good, and I was obsessed with it for all of middle school through high school. So that says a bit. I honestly, when it first was advertised on TV, I hated it so much. The commercials, the marketing was so bad. Every time I heard Steven's voice, I wanted to reach into the TV and strangle his little head. You little monster, I don't want to hear you say this anymore. So it was this god awful commercial, just the gem saying really corny quotes out of context, and I was like, I hate this with a burning passion. And then it came on TV one Sunday morning. I was like, whoa, that fry monster just ate somebody.
Oh my gosh. Was that actually your first episode?
Tribo might have been. I don't
Oh
know.
my.
Because the first season, the episodes would just play. And so I just kind of watched them there. And I don't know how that even worked on hooking me on. Because those were some of the weirdest and most questionable episodes. Like,
Yeah.
how did they even get that produced in their first 5 episodes to have one episode where a fry mascot starts growing ketchup veins and trying to kill people, and then the next one Steven turns into a cat like abomination. Like, how did that not freak me out more as a child? Because they went with the weirdest stuff right away.
There was actually a
Mhm.
lot of messed up things in that show now that I think
Yeah.
about it.
But specifically that first season when like you have to admit they didn't really have the rules set up because like you look back towards the end and you think some of these things that they had in the first season make no sense. But they just went with everything and they rolled with it and made most of it work. But it was really good. I think I didn't I liked it a lot for the first season. A lot of people got hooked at the end of the first season when Garnet, the character we mentioned already, had a huge reveal. I feel like we can talk about it because who doesn't know at this point that Garnet was a fusion of
Yeah.
two gems? Because if you haven't watched Steven Universe, basically, I guess we probably should have said this already. The show is about a kid named Steven who's part gem. Gems are just these magical aliens, and he lives with the crystal gems, Garnet, Amethyst, and Pearl. They're gems, and basically the show is just about Steven learning to control his gem powers that he inherited from his gem mother Rose, who is gone, and his funny dad Greg teaches him life lessons, but not that often. So
For someone to be gay space rocks and mommy issues.
yeah, okay. Yeah, basically. Yeah, and so the gems, they're made of light magic, so they can combine and stuff. So that was a big thing that hooked a lot of people on, but I was there before it was cool. And from there, that's when it started to go more sci-fi.
Gatekeeper.
And yeah, I'm gatekeeping. This is Girl Boss Leaf today in the studio. Yeah, because if you listened to our podcast episode about Pride, then I think I mentioned it then too that Steven Universe did a lot for representation because Garnet is a fusion of Ruby and Sapphire and all gems, like literally every single one. They don't have gender, but they all present femininely. So it was kind of like a creative loophole to be able to have gay characters without the studio being like, yeah.
Yeah.
And from there, I just got more and more hooked. I think the mid season 3 event like got me through um, the second half of 7th grade. It was a hard time to go through, obviously, but I got through it. And then kept watching all the way till the show ended at season 5, prematurely, but also not because their ending got rushed, but they still got a six extra episode pickup. I'm not sure the technicalities there, and don't I don't really want to look it up, but either way, and it ended with Change Your Mind, which was a pretty good finale. Had a lot of really awesome stuff, like the fusion gem Obsidian, um, and some other things. I don't know. Had a lot of really cool stuff, and that was supposedly the end until we found out there was a movie coming. And
A with
Steven
the
Universe
best
the movie.
the best.
Oh yes, we'll talk about her. So Steven Universe the movie continued the saga as a 90-minute straight to TV film, and it was lovely. I loved it. It came out um, in the fall of 2019, and I was obsessed with the soundtrack. I loved it because at the end of the main series, each main character got a new design, and then for the movie, they gave Steven an aged up design, and I was obsessed with it. I own the 16-year-old Steven jacket. It's in my closet somewhere. The movie was incredible. Faith, go ahead, talk about her.
Spinel. My love for Spinel is large.
Yes, Faith is a Spinel fan. I don't think. I think at this point, spoilers for all things Steven Universe. We're just going to talk about it as if you people know about it, and if you don't, well, you should. I don't know. Check out the show because Rebecca Sugar and her team they did make a really good story. It's not perfect, but it's enjoyable if you like space and gems.
And gay.
Need I go on? Exactly. But what was I? Where was I going with this? I don't remember because my brain got flattened by a steamroller. Right. Yeah, the movie was really good. The soundtrack, at least. Oh my God. Rebecca Sugar had to write so many songs in such a little time. She got some actual their names to help write the music, like Chance the Rapper. Pretty sure. Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, Chance the Rapper helped with the music. I've never listened to him. I just thought that was kind of neat. 'Cause I never would have expected that collab. But yeah, for what it was a really good, very fun movie. Amazing soundtrack, good enough story that honestly, you kind of don't even need to have watched the show to appreciate the movie because it takes some time to kind of reintroduce all the characters. So even if you've never seen the show, you can figure out who these characters are and what's important to them in a way that doesn't even feel weird. It's just like this fun, grandiose presentation. Very Disney, very, very Disney. And it's just an all around fun time. Movie's great. Um, so yes, the movie is amazing. I'm sure Faith's gonna want to talk more about Spinel, but I think Faith is getting hunted by David in the hallways right now. So
Again, somebody needs to put a leash on David or something.
we can't control him.
I'll figure something out at some point.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
But I digress. So after the movie, we were then greeted with Steven Universe Future, a 20 episode epilogue, which was so unexpected. Like, just we didn't really know what it was about. It's just the end of the main series set up this new status quo, so the future epilogue kind of touched on it a bit, but like it was no one really could predict what it was about and where it was going. Because it was just a really, really thorough and beautiful story about just how realistically a child's mental health would be affected by fighting monsters that are trying to kill him from such a young age and dealing with the emotional weight of everyone around him. And it's just so profound and just so unexpected for something that is technically aimed for kids to just be touching on hard thoughts like that about living up to expectations and realizing you don't have to be anyone the world wants you to be. That the main show talked on that too. The finale, especially about just self love and independence and just being who you are, taking charge. A lot of nice allegory for trans people, which maybe it resonated with me in a way that I just didn't realize at that point because I hadn't realized what I who I was just yet. But the future epilogue really was incredible because it just focused on how Steven's mental health was affected by all those traumatic experiences in his young age that everyone just treated like they were just normal things. And so now he just can't cope with things normally anymore. And they just took the time to address it and like explain it in a way that is real and people can actually like relate to. And everything with the finale, a lot of people didn't like it because they're like, "Oh my goodness, we didn't get an epic final battle." But like, that was never what the show was about. I think at its core, Steven Universe was a show about saying that you don't need to fight your way out of problems. And a lot of the ways it did that were really, really beautiful, in my opinion. I think they handled all their major conflicts. It's in such a unique way that you'd never expect. You would think, yeah, they're gonna go guns and blazing and just destroy these people. But then when they go a different way, they go a peaceful route, then you end up with something much more beautiful otherwise, which like I was wowed. I was like, wow, if I had written this and I just made Steven kill the main villains, none of this other good stuff would have happened. So I think that was pretty neat. Faith, are you back with us?
I'm back. I'm here.
Okay, yeah, sorry. We thought David was locked in the dungeon, but apparently he got out.
It's alright. That was slightly terrifying, but it's okay.
Okay. Well, I already skipped through a bit about Future, but if you want to go back to Spinel and why she was an important character to you, by all means, go for it.
I mean, okay, yeah. Growing up, obviously, watched Steven Universe. It was pretty great. And I had a couple of friends who had also watched and stuff, and a lot of friends, they'd always like, you always have that whole like you relate to different characters and stuff, right? Like, I had friends who would relate to Amethyst or like Pearl or whatnot, or some of the human characters they'd relate to. and I couldn't really relate to anyone really growing up, and that kind of sucked because one of the big things with TV shows and what for me is to get really hooked onto it. I want to be able to relate to someone, and I could kind of relate to Steven throughout it, in different ways, but I didn't feel that like connection, right? And then yeah, 2019, Steven Universe movie came out. And I actually didn't watch it right away. I didn't watch it as soon as it came out. I wasn't in a great place at that time, but it was Leaf actually who convinced me to watch the movie. I think I actually wasn't even caught up on the show at that time. I think I stopped watching the show, and then you convinced me to catch up and then watch the movie.
You're right. Your memory is so much better than mine.
Sorry?
So your memory is so much better than mine.
I don't know, because like I remember immediately going from watching like the finale of season 4 to the movie, so I'm pretty sure like you had talked me into watching it. So I did. And then yeah, I watched the movie and the character Spinel showed up. And you know, she caught me at her hella good song right at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think we'll talk about that. That was a good song. That the soundtrack in general for that movie was great, but you know, loved that. Loved that she was like that bouncy villain character. I love those. I don't wanna get into too much spoilers about the movie, or does it really matter?
We already made a just all things Steven Universe spoilers, so just yeah, go for it.
Wonderful. Okay. But so yeah. And then there she was like she went back to her original form or whatever. And I was just like, what's going on here? And then you get her backstory around the end of the movie. And there had never been a character like that before that I related to like that. So right off the bat, right there, like from the movie, she became my absolute favorite character in the entire show. Fell in love with her. When she came back for Steven Universe Future, even though it was for a little bit at the end, that made me the absolute happiest.
I have a little bit Steven Universe to say.
Okay. If I can just throw in one more thought, because we're talking about Spinel. As I mentioned, I related a lot to Steven Universe Future, Steven's arc during that, because I was going through a really hard time. And I remember there's one scene where the character just kind of gets Steven to realize all the horrible things that happened in his childhood that he didn't realize. Well, I had just been realizing, like, I'd been having epiphanies nonstop. And when that scene happened, I was just crying. So like, oh my God, like how am I this feels like they're writing this show based on my life to help me figure myself out. So Faith and I kind of had this joke because I related so hard to Steven and she related so hard to Spinel that we were just each other's Steven and Spinel. So I think for Faith's birthday, the last year, I drew her as Steven and myself as Spinel just to switch up the dynamic, a little spin on it. But we had a thing going like that, and we have way more Steven stories. But Ren, yes, please go ahead and share your thoughts.
Okay, first little story thing for the first part. How Faith got angry when I started watching it because someone else told me to watch it.
Okay, in my defense,
Because
I have been telling you for years to watch it.
because you have been telling me since we met to watch it, and I'm like, no, not gonna do that. I have not finished it in the slightest. I'm like 25 episodes into season 1 because bad Wi-Fi don't have the thing that it's on. Other stuff. Basically, I started watching it like a week before the finale of Steven Universe Future came out.
Mhm.
Because there was going to be this like big like watching event, and I got invited to it by Leaf.
That's me.
I'm like, okay, sure, whatever. So I begin to watch the show a little bit, and Faith is annoyed with me because that was the first of 2 times that I've done something that you've been trying to get me to do
It
for
was the same thing with
years.
Arma.
Yeah.
It was the same thing with drama.
If you've heard our episode about experiences with drama class, we have that story in full detail.
And I guess of the 25, 26 episodes I've watched, I think the episode I'm on is Ocean Gem, or the one after it.
Mirror.
Mirror Gem's
Oh, wait.
the first one, and then
Yeah.
Ocean Gem's the second one. Ocean
That's
Gem
true,
is the
yeah.
one that
Right.
I'm
Oh my
on.
god. Remind me to come back to Ocean Gem because Lapis Lazuli is.
Yeah,
Lapis Lazuli.
don't worry. But I was critical of the show, still am to a point, and like some things some characters do is like, that would not be okay under normal circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, also like the art style issues. Not the art style itself, the scaling.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Because
The height changes.
there is an episode where either Garnet gets increasingly tall, or Steven gets increasingly short. Steven like starts at like roughly ish height, or just under, and then slowly gets to like knee size.
Yeah.
Like throughout that entire episode, which is just weird. But yeah, though I was warned getting into it that season 1 is like is the least good season.
Yeah. Because I think when you look back at it, it's really strange because I own the Steven Universe art books where you get a glimpse that Rebecca Sugar's like plan for the series that is allegedly like predates the show. It's really weird because a lot of like gizmos and trinkets and monsters from the first season really make no sense once you know the lore of the show. It's like, how on earth does this exist? So they kind of just threw things in and just told stories that would be fun, exciting, but in the end just don't make sense
Yeah.
anymore.
But yeah, it's fun. And my favorite character of the entire show is Lapis.
Yeah, Lapis Gang.
Relief, go off.
Okay, I love Lapis Lazuli. So when I first started watching it, like I didn't have any online resources to watch the episodes like immediately. I could only watch them when they were out on my cable TV network. And so the Mirror and Ocean Gem episodes never premiered in Canada. And at least to my knowledge, whenever they would do reruns of the whole show, they would always skip the Lapis episodes. So one day I was just looking through the Steven Universe wiki, and I went to the page of all the gem characters, and I saw Lapis. I'm like, wait, like from Minecraft. Wait, like from Minecraft? And then they just had this new character, so I found the episodes online and watched them. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was Jennifer Paz's acting. I don't know if it was just her origin, like just her story, but I was just attached to her. She became my favorite. Every time she came back for something, I would say everything she did. I think she was underutilized. I think the second half of her arc, especially with things relating to Peridot, definitely got rushed, and I think needed definitely a bit more because it was just a little unsatisfying. But when she got her crystal gem redesign at the end of the show, and then got a whole episode to herself in Steven Universe Future, that was the best because I always loved her. I know she's actually a very controversial character, which we can talk about too. But just I don't know, something about her. She's just my favorite gem.
I wanted to say a little something about her backstory that I don't think I'm the only one that this bothers really, and I don't know if it was ever actually touched on by Rebecca Sugar or anything. But like we know by the end or whatever, we've got the B team, we got Lapis, Peridot, and together as a group or whatever.
I think you cut out there a bit. If you just want to say it was Lapis, Bismuth, and Peridot.
Yeah, with Lapis, Bismuth, and Peridot, their little group by the end, and they kind of became like this, group of friends or whatever by the end of the show. But I don't know if it ever got touched on by Rebecca Sugar after, but I have seen some people talk about it, where in Lapis's the gem that had poofed her and put her, and like how she ended up in the mirror or whatever, was a bismuth. We don't know if it's necessarily our bismuth, but it was a bismuth.
So
That's a lot like our bismuth.
I think I have the answer. I think someone did actually mention that to Rebecca Sugar because everyone made that connection. It's like, hey, that gem, that's bismuth. Poof lapis, is that our bismuth? And I'm pretty sure Rebecca Sugar actually, yes, she confirmed at I think San Diego Comic-Con that it was our bismuth who poofed lapis, and that was the point of that cameo to hint at it. But they intentionally didn't do anything with it because Lapis holding a grudge would just be really repetitive of the arc she just had with Jasper. I think that was what they were talking about there. Because yeah, a lot of Lapis's arc was just holding on to spite against other people. So her arc was kind of about letting go of the past and embracing who she can be, not who she was. I do kind of
Good.
wish they did talk about it because I think it
Yeah.
could have just been a single episode where they just give a, oh my god, you poofed me. And Bismuth was like, yeah, we were on opposite sides of a war. Sorry about that. What did you want me to do? Shake your hand? Is like, I don't really know how they could have done that anyway. I have the same thoughts about the Malachite controversy. People are always like, they hated Lapis for what she did there. Which, if you don't know, is just she fused with Jasper, but then trapped their fusion in the bottom of the ocean, and people are like, that was so awful, like that was so bad. They were Because fusion is like all based on your relationship with a person. So it's like, oh, Malachite was toxic, like Lapis is a monster for that. And people always talk about it as if they weren't still fighting against each other in a war. She sacrificed herself to keep their most powerful adversary away for like 6 months. Like,
Yeah.
and people are like, poor Jasper though, the mental torment. Jasper just tried to kill all of them. Like, they're not friends.
Yeah.
Was it extreme? Yes. But I think people definitely forget way too much about the context of the fact that they were enemies fighting to win.
Yeah.
So that I feel like people left that out way too much about when they tried to say that Lapis was a monster for that. Like, okay, sure, it's your opinion.
I mean, you can't excuse Jasper. Like
Yeah,
he tried to kill them all throughout the entire show too. Like it wasn't like with Lapis where she did get a chance to like have a redemption and, figure out how to be a better person, that she doesn't need to, be scared and stuff. Jasper didn't even really get that.
no,
Jasper's just the villain throughout the whole show.
yeah, even to Future, they kept her a villain, and it worked out for Steven's arc because of the spoiler alert, but we already gave one super intense moment where Steven she pushes him to the edge and he kills her. He shatters her gem and ends her life. But then he heals her, brings her back to life. So it's like, okay, well, whatever. But throughout the end, she was beyond redemption. She never wanted to be a better person. The
No.
closest she got was Steven telling her, just stop trying to fight everything. There's nothing to fight anymore. Just
Yeah.
find your own purpose. Um, so yeah, that's my 2 cents on that. Were you gonna say something else, Faith?
Um, I don't think so. No. I mean, Jasper's story was pretty clean cut like that. She just kind of she didn't get a redemption because she didn't want one.
Didn't want one, and frankly, I think it worked out fine that way. Um, I would love, as you already know, if we got more Steven, I would want to see more of Jasper and where she's headed because now she's aimless. By the end of the show, Steven barely broke through to her and just kind of said, like, stop it. Like, the war is over. There's no one left to fight. Just do something with your life. I'd love to see if she actually tries to follow that advice or if she stays stubborn forever.
Yeah.
But golly, we've been going so off about Steven Universe, and I could go even further, but we're not doing what we did with Avatar and making it a dedicated episode. Moral of the story is that Steven Universe was not perfect, but Rebecca Sugar is just a genius for doing everything she did with representation and trying to tell a serious story about mental health and teaching valuable lessons. under this veil of like a magic sci-fi space show is just so clever. Because people come for the intense lore and then they just get taught life lessons as a result. I think watching that show definitely had an influence on the way I came up with stories too, because I kind of realized like, damn, it's way more interesting to find other ways than just destroying the bad guy by becoming the strongest. That's boring. But regardless, we definitely need to move on because there are other shows we want to talk about and other things. So if I may, all aboard, grab your tickets. I want to talk about Infinity Train. Chugga, 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 chugga. So, me and Ryan are the only ones who have seen it all the way through. So I'll definitely definitely give Ryan some more talking time because I've talked enough. But I think only to get out of the way is that Infinity Train is a one of a kind show. I love Jesse. That's all I need to say right now. Ryan can talk now.
I made a cameo in the show, just kidding. But it's kind of weird that Ryan is also Canadian. It
Yeah,
kind of looks like me, but
just
just
a little
barely.
bit.
Infinity Train. Hey, that's a cool show. What's it about? You end up on a train and you get a number, and you have to get, well, I don't know if I should say that because it's a spoiler, but
Here, I got this. If you made it to this point, be warned. Spoilers are abound. There you go.
So bad.
you end up on the Infinity Train. You end up on the train. You get a number, and you have to get that number down to 0. And the way that you do that is that you have to become a better person, because as you go through the cars, you learn these things, like the flaws about yourself and what makes you you, and figuring out who you are and your relation to other people. At some point you get to 0 and then you can leave the train. But of course, if you do bad things and you become worse, your number goes up and can get some pretty messed up stuff can happen then.
It was just such a unique show because each season has different characters to show different kinds of emotional journeys, as opposed to just one character and like 4 seasons of growing. It's different characters with different reasons to grow, and even then, they were so insanely creative.
And the thing is that each car, because there's multiple different cars on the Infinity Train, because it never ends, and they're all like completely. They all have worlds inside of the cars, and they're all different in their own way because they all have a gimmick,
Yeah,
and they have entirely new worlds, and you have to. They're all puzzle rooms. Are there a few that are just like, oh yeah, you can just leave?
there's some that are pretty straightforward, but then yeah, some cars have locked doors and you gotta do a little puzzle. Some just take a while to get through because they're big, because each one is like a holographic pocket dimension, and just like basically most cars will get a dedicated episode to themselves just based on how interesting they are. Because you get things like let me think of a good example of one.
The Toad car, where there's
The
just a
Toad car.
frog in the middle of the car,
Yeah,
and you have to kick the frog to get out. To get out, but the frog begs you not to kick them.
God, that was okay. That episode was honestly one of the funniest ones. Yeah, the the perfect moral dilemma of will you kick this frog? Oh, and he begs you not to.
Yeah,
Or well, he'll beg you to do it until you're about to. Then he'll say, "Please, God, please, don't, please." And so you get funny, just hilarious stuff like that. And all around, they just do such a brilliant job of giving you enough on the protagonist's journey, making their environments stand out and be interesting. And also, most of the books have some overarching antagonistic force as well, whether it be like explicitly some bad force or maybe something within that you just haven't realized, etc., etc. I know we already said there's gonna be spoilers, so like I don't know the way they set it up with book one with having an actual antagonist in the form of the steward compared to book three where the final villain is Simon, and because you just expect that he's going to get better because he's got to get off the train too, but then he just gets so bad because he's so like he's a narcissist.
and he freaking attempts to kill
Yeah,
Grace, and he thinks that he killed her as well. And even
yeah,
then, after murder, the number doesn't go like infinite or whatever. Apparently, murder is still redeemable. I know that he didn't actually kill her, but he thinks that he did, and I
Yeah.
would say that that counts. And he ends up with a number even bigger than Amelia's.
Yeah, and in case you don't know Infinity Train and you just don't care about spoilers, she's the book 1 villain. And she's been on the train for like decades.
Over 40 years.
Yeah, he caused a bunch of shit, but Simon was just such an interesting character because he became the villain because of his own downfall. Because he refused, he could not accept that he was wrong ever. To the point where he would kill anyone who he knows, like deep down, he knew Grace was right, so he just tried to kill her. She's gone, then no one can tell him that he's wrong.
Yeah, because even Grace saves him, and then he repays her by just eating her off the train.
So then in the end, Simon just gets brutally vaporized by one of the most mysterious forces of the train world. Cock Dog.
Yeah, the cock dog. They're called gomes. Gorms?
But yeah. Gomes, yeah.
Gomes.
But then with like season 2, you had the Flex, and they were really neat. They didn't like have much depth to them, but they just added so much more tension because now there was a threat that's actively trying to catch the main character, unlike the steward who would just occasionally pop up and cause trouble. And then book 4 has all those villains coming and going, but once you're done your thought, I'll talk about why book 4 was such a strange way to end without context.
Yeah, I also liked in season 1 where, you know, it kind of, sort of, not really presents itself as a kids show just because they were with Cartoon Network initially, so they couldn't really kill people. So, I mean, they worked around that in the second one by grinding somebody with the train wheel.
Yeah.
And the goo inside of him just gushes out of his face and stuff. It was brutal as hell. Also, Simon's death was brutal.
Yeah. And they got away with it all because he wasn't technically human, so it's fine.
But I also do like, because they do touch on heavy topics. Well, not super heavy topics, but they do touch on topics that you wouldn't really expect from a kids show.
Yeah, exactly. And that was part of why I appreciated it more so because Infinity Train is like my favorite Western cartoon of all time. It surpassed Steven Universe because it's just Infinity Train compared to Steven Universe is like basically flawless and also touches on really heavy topics. You can talk about those because I know you related to a lot of the characters.
Yeah, I related to Tulip the most because Tulip's my favorite. I think that she's great. She's a lot of fun. But I also do like that with the tapes, because there's tapes that'll replay your own memories.
Yeah.
The thing is that it'll play the memories can be wrong just because of how you cope with certain things. So she remembered because her parents are divorced, and she would remember the time with her parents, but she remembered it as happy memories in order to sort of keep herself from feeling bad and just being sad about it. But in reality, her parents were bickering a lot during that time, and she realized, wait, no, this memory isn't right. It's not happy. It's a lot worse. And she kind of dodges away from a lot of her problems. Like she doesn't face them. She's just like, yeah, whatever. You're getting divorced, nerds. Except minus the head nerds. But like she doesn't directly face the problems that she's having. Like she doesn't really, she hasn't come to terms with the divorce. So I don't know, it was just very interesting that she realized it's like, oh yeah, these things, I can't just ignore these problems. I actually have to like think about them and just accept that they're a part of my life.
If I can, I'll just like quickly go over like the different emotional conflicts that the protagonist went through. Because Tulip's thing was she was trying to run away and avoid the things that were wrong in her life. So eventually, to get off the train and get her number to 0, she had to realize that it's okay for things to change, and you can't run for it. You can't run from it. You just kind of have to accept it. And then book 2's passenger protagonist was Jesse. He wasn't the main character of it, but his conflict involved just both characters in that book, probably why I love them most, I guess I relate to, because Jesse struggled with being his own person, because he always tried to do things to make others happy. And the actual main character, Mirror Tulip slash Lake, had a whole thing about forcefully reclaiming her identity. I never even really put together how much of a parallel there was between their dynamics, but they resonated with me the both. Nice, okay, yeah, English words. They resonated with me the most. And then you had Grace and Simon. Simon's thing was just that he had an inability to accept when he was wrong. Because I'm pretty sure it's canon that he got on the train because he lost a spelling bee
Oh my god.
when he was 8. Yeah, that's how bad it was. Grace, I honestly don't remember. But then Ryan and Mingy from book 4, this was a case where the show decided to make it a bit more fun and have these two characters come on together, so their conflict was more so tied to each other. And basically, their journey was more so about like just kind of
Who they are and where they're going together in life.
yeah, exactly, and realizing how much they're alike. Like for Ryan, it was kind of slow down and be more like Mingy that got his number down. And for Mingy, he had to just live more freely and stop being so uptight and just be ready to be impulsive like Ryan. So together, they were able to get off just accepting that they had a lot more in common than they thought.
Yeah, and also Minky had a problem with stubbornness that not
Yeah,
really. He would always put the blame on Ryan, and Ryan actually got his number down to 0 before Mingy.
yeah. And oh, I was so book 4. I think I'll go off on that tangent now. Book 4 is the current official final book of Infinity Train. Hopefully it's not the end forever, but right now, Cartoon Network and HBO Max did not greenlight any more seasons, which was not what the creative team wanted, because Book 4 was not the end they wanted. Book 4 actually subverts what they've got so far. The first 3 books happen in chronological order. Book 4 goes back to the 1980s. So Ryan and Mingy are on the train in a separate era of the train. Like things are different, which all makes so much sense when you watch the whole show. And so, yeah, their arc together was really nice, but really kind of an odd way to end it because the 3 previous books had so much like intensity and weight to the story arc. This one was just kind of these two guys just bickering constantly and this talking bell, making more and more enemies. And in the end, it was just a nice where it culminated with the lesson that just like you need to hold yourself accountable and just apologize for when you do things wrong. That was nice. Um, Book 4 was not supposed to come out as the last season or on its own. It was meant to be a prelude to the 5th book of Infinity Train, which was going to double as an animated movie, which was going to focus on the character we talked about, Amelia, and how, again, spoiler alert, she took over the Infinity Train. And Owen Dennis had storyboards made. He had the pitch ready. It was going to be a 90-minute movie. We were supposed to get 8 books of Infinity Train, and then the networks decided, this movie, I don't know. There's no young characters in it, so no child entry point. No one will watch it. Yeah, we give up on you. The stupidest thing ever, because Infinity Train literally came to life because fans wanted it so bad. Because in 2016, Owen Dennis made a pilot episode, which would later turn
I
into,
remember that pilot episode.
yeah,
I remember first watching it. It was great.
it was
It's
great.
so
Like, it was,
different from like what it is now. I'm glad that they. I'm glad with what they did now.
like, it was 8 minutes long, and it turned into the episode from season 1 called The Corgi Car. And it captured everything the story needed to be. And it became a show because the fans loved it so much. It got like, I don't even remember, it got millions of views within a week, more so than any other Cartoon Network pilot. Pardon me, burp. And so that's why it got greenlit. Because Cartoon Network was like, damn, people want the show. And then it became a thing. Then, after 3 super successful seasons and the 4th one underway, they decided, yeah, no one else is gonna watch this. No one else cares.
Because they don't make toys. How are you
Yeah,
supposed to make money without the toys?
exactly. And it's the most ridiculous decisions ever because Infinity Train literally is, I still believe, the best animated show. But people are still very much trying to fight for more. In fact, just a couple months ago, from the day of recording, there was a big campaign to just hashtag Renew Infinity Train, and it took number 1 spot on Twitter's trending for a majority of the day. I don't remember exactly how long, but it was like at least 6 hours while a major sports thing was happening. And so all the Infinity Trains were like, how the hell are we beating sports right now? Like, what the hell? Hi, here at Team Code Red, we're all gay, so we don't know anything about sports. But we do know that Infinity Train was more popular than it for a day. And there's going to be another one soon, because these executives don't know what they're doing. The stories that Owen Dennis is trying to tell, like, as Ryan mentioned and I mentioned, like, they're touching a lot of people while also just showing off this super, super cool world that is literally infinite. Infinite creativity. You could have anything be a train car. Who would not want that? So fans are going to keep pushing because the creator himself is supporting these fan pushes. He's like, guys, do it. Tell them you want it. Because we
The
do.
executives are missing out big
Yeah,
time.
they're missing out on the. But what Owen Dennis has told us, what they've got planned for the last 4 books, Cartoon Network, it will be the biggest shame in their history if they don't do it. Because it's literally got something for everybody. Kids will enjoy the lovable, goofy antics. Teens and adults will appreciate the darker undertones. And like just younger kids might just hear things about these struggles and maybe realize things about themselves and be like, oh, whoa, this character is just like me going through this thing that is really normal. I know a lot of people who have gone through divorces, and I feel like a lot of them could have used a character like Tulip to come to terms with that sort of thing. I definitely needed Lake and Jesse to slap me in the face and tell me to start living my life the way I wanted to. Narcissists need to see Simon so they know that if they don't get over themselves, they'll be killed. Just kidding. And that 2 dudes from the 80s from Canada
That are 100% not gay.
are 100% not gay, yeah. But I think that's enough about Infinity Train now. If we want to briefly come over some, I guess we'll just shout out some other really amazing shows. Kipo, Age of the Wonder Beasts was incredible. I think Ren's the only person who's seen it. It is so good. It's amazing. Out of the stuff that DreamWorks has put out, so good. Got good representation, great story, super engaging. It all came out within 2020. The only good thing from that year. I won't go off about it too much. It's just a post-apocalyptic story about Kipo, who's been sent to the surface world, which is full of monsters, and she's trying to find her family. I would I would look into it if I were you because it's also just a really nice story, and yeah, it's just so much fun. The Dragon Prince is also really good, made by some of the creative team of Avatar: The Last Airbender, but it's more fantasy based. It's really fun too. It's got a whole magic system, kind of similar to the elements from Avatar. It's got a really good voice cast too. Overall, Dragon Prince is another really great show. But I think we dragged on the Steven Universe and Infinity Train tangents too long. So I think next we'll talk about some more shows that we liked growing up. I'm actually gonna hand the microphones, yeah, I just split them in half, to Aaron and Faith so they can talk about My
Oh,
Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, because we've missed Aaron's voice.
I'm here.
Hello.
So, yeah, I unfortunately have not watched much of any of the shows we've been talking about before because I'm terrible at watching shows. However, the one show that I grew up watching that got me into animation and art really was My Little Pony. And it's actually a coincidence that we decided to talk about it because yesterday I was like, I kind of want to rewatch My Little Pony. And anyways, I'm doing that now.
Oh my god, I'll rewatch it with you.
Yes.
I will watch it all with you.
I
It's
just
going to Mount
it's it's such a good show. I remember I used to watch like the old generation My Little Pony shows as a kid, and then when Friendship is Magic came out, I was like, I don't know about this, and then I was like, sold.
Right? I was scared because I was in love with Generation 3 of My Little Pony as like a little kid,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So when Friendship is Magic came out, when I first was looking at it, I was like, this is not the same. What is this? This is crap.
But like it's just everything about it is so good. The characters mainly just like make that show.
They do. Aaron, I've never asked you who your favorite character is.
Okay, well, if we're talking about main 6, my favorite is probably either Applejack or Rarity. But just in general, my favorite character is probably Discord.
Yes. I love that.
But I do also love Vinyl Scratch and Octavia. I was obsessed with them as a kid. There's so much fan art of them.
I love it so much. The 100th episode is hands down my
Yes,
favorite.
it's so good. The one thing I always loved about My Little Pony so much is that it's the one show I've watched where it's like impossible to hate any of the villains or antagonists because they're all so good.
All the characters, the characters are so good. Like, if there's ever a point in that show where the story seems to kind of be like kind of slow or kind of slipping, it never became boring or bad because the characters just made up for it every time.
Exactly. And even like that show gets heavy sometimes because there's like obviously it's a kid show, so half of the episodes are just like doing whatever and like doing little shenanigans that don't tie into each other. But then you get to like the story parts and it's like so good.
Yeah. I think growing up especially, I think that show actually taught me a lot on
Oh
how
yeah.
to be a good person and
Yeah.
just with issues and stuff.
Yeah, and the one thing I always liked about it is just that there were so many episodes that focused on the flaws of each character.
Yeah.
Just like how they're and also the music, brilliant, wonderful.
Oh my gosh, yes. I will still
There
belt
is
out
like
this area to this day.
yeah, there is not one song in that show that I dislike.
Yeah.
It's so good. But yeah, that really just like considering it's just like basic like flash animation and stuff like that, it's so amazing. It's so nice to look at. Like
Yeah.
the color palettes and the backgrounds and just like the character designs in general are just so good even though they're all like the same base basically.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, that show and probably a large portion of its fan base was big part of my childhood.
Oh, absolutely. I like super remember the one thing that wanted to get me animation into YouTube in general is I would sit down and watch the bronies react videos.
Yes.
Oh, with like Black Griffin and all them like and Ellie Monty. I would just sit down and watch those for hours. And I was like,
Yes.
yes, I want to be this person.
I want to be these people. It was so funny how for the longest time because I hear people listening to fan music artists all the time, like the Living Tombstone
Oh my
or
god.
Mando Pony or whatever, and like their
Yeah.
gaming music and how into it they get, and I'm just sitting here like they started off making My
Well,
Little Pony.
it's my favorite thing ever to watch people like on TikTok or whatever jam out to the song Discord and like half of them have no idea that it's a My Little Pony fan song. I love it.
Yeah, God.
But yeah, and I
Not
definitely like I think My Little Pony made like a huge impact on the animation and YouTube community in general.
Oh, definitely. I don't think anybody was prepared for how big it was gonna get.
Yeah, and I think the one thing I really liked about like what the writers of My Little Pony did is it was the one show that really listened to the fans of it and like catered towards the fans without it ruining the show at all.
Yeah, definitely.
Because a lot of the time shows will listen to what their fans want, and they'll listen to the fan base and the shippers or whatever, and they'll just like totally cater fan service like the crap out of it. And I think they did that really well. Like they listened to what people wanted, especially relationship wise, like making Fluttershy and Discord and Applejack and Rainbow Dash and all of them. Like I love
And
it.
it was so nice too because it was so subtle the way they did it as well.
Yes, exactly.
Like the fans who wanted that, they knew. But like anybody else wouldn't have been able to really catch it, right?
Well, and yeah, exactly. I like that they were able to use like fan service in that sense without it overtaking the show. Like especially just having like in the last episode when like you see Lyra and Bon Bon getting married.
Yeah.
Like so good. It's such a good show.
It really is.
Yeah, I definitely think it made up a huge part of my childhood. Considering I watched it till about age like 16 and now I'm getting back into it again.
Yeah.
But it definitely was one of the shows that really made me wanna do art.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, growing up, you could actually ask Ren about this because I started drawing before they did.
Mhm.
Now they're better than me, but that's besides the point.
Hey.
Uh, but when growing up, I didn't know how to draw humans because all I ever drew was My Little Ponies. Like that was
Same.
the
Oh my god. It's funny, the way I learned to draw humans well, or the way I finally started transitioning from like only drawing cats and My Little Ponies to starting to draw humans was because of the first Equestria Girls movie.
I knew you were gonna say that too.
When it came out and it was like all the characters I know and love like designed as humans, even if they are kind of like crappy, but I was like, this is brilliant. I need to be able to draw them as humans now.
Yeah.
So
Gosh, part of me wishes we knew each other in childhood because
I know.
I was so alone in all these interests.
Well, yeah, because you were a Warrior Cat kid also, weren't you?
I very much was,
Yeah,
yes.
see? We would have been perfect.
We would have. But we know each other now, so that's all that matters.
Exactly. I could totally see us like being, because like when I was a kid and I would be like on the schoolyard and I'm like, I'm gonna role play Warrior Cats and My Little Ponies. I could totally just see you there with me.
There's an alternate universe where that happened.
Yeah, I hope.
Yeah. Alright. Should we move on from
Yes.
this? So other
Yeah.
so
Well,
Ken.
I think we've learned that friendship is magic.
True.
I said the funny thing, right? Do I get an award now?
No, you're getting kicked from the call.
You get a gold star.
Maybe the real magic was the friendship we made along the way.
On the way. Yeah. Hey, good one. I didn't partake in that conversation, but I did actually watch some My Little Pony growing up.
I was a Warrior Cats kid.
Wait, were you
It's
actually?
another. Faith made me read the first book. That's it.
I'm still a Warrior Cat kid. I pre-order every book that comes out.
Oh, we know.
It's good. I mean, it's good and bad in its own ways.
Oh, there were like kids in my schoolyard who would role play Warrior Cats, and I think I got like accepted into their clan without knowing what exactly it was. But we're not we're not talking about that because we're talking about shows. And the point I was trying to make was I did watch My Little Pony for a little bit, but my favorite show growing up was Ben 10. I loved Ben 10
Yeah.
so much. I wanted to be him. I wanted to turn into all his aliens. From I don't even know how young I was. but I started watching with like Alien Force, I think. Probably around Alien Force, and followed it. Okay, no, we're not
watched
going to
the
get into
original
that.
series on and off. I watched the original series on and off, like
Okay.
as a kid.
hmm I feel like I probably did, but I definitely remember owning the DVDs for like the final season of the original series, and
I
it
did
was
too.
oh, yo, let's
Yeah.
go. I also had the first animated movie on DVD, but Ben 10 was
Yeah.
my hyper obsession for years. He was all I could think about. I bought all the action figures. In fact, I still have like I had a massive collection. I think I just have two now because all of them got destroyed. But that's a whole other tangent.
And
I loved it. I loved watching Alien Force, and then when Ultimate Alien premiered, getting to see the whole 10-10-10 thing because it aired on October 10th, 2010. Blah 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 blah. Ultimate Alien was super cool, and then Omniverse was announced, and I thought it looked garbage. But then I ended up loving it because once I got past the
Yeah.
drastically different art style, um, Omniverse was cool, and I met a lot of really cool people somehow. Strange sentence. I made a bunch of cool friends. Well, one because they were from the Ben 10 fandom. Makes sense.
Oh.
yeah.
But I loved it. I don't think I have any of my old Omnitrix toys, but I did have. I had one for each Omnitrix. I had the original, the Alien Force, the
Alien.
Ultimatrix, and the Omniverse one. I was a hardcore fan. I
Oh,
wrote so many fan fictions.
no,
What were you
that
saying, Luke?
tracks. That tracks.
Yeah.
I only had the original Omnitrix and like a couple toys because many siblings and family members that also have to get presents.
Yeah.
So you get limited.
Yeah, I was
But
completely
yeah.
obsessed. There was one super embarrassing time during drama class last year. I was at the computer lab with one of my friends, and um just for fun, we were just searching up our names, and I searched up my name. It won't work now for the record because one, I deleted the image. Two, it was by my dead name. But we looked up my name, and I scrolled down, and then I found the drawing I did, which was just a recolored Ben. And I was like,
Yo.
what the? No, no! I was so upset. I was like, no, get out of here, delete that. So then that night, I went down. I found the website the image was on, and I was like, delete this page, delete all these articles. I had elaborate stories planned because it was my favorite thing, and it was just too good. Ren, should we rank all the series? Series.
Sure.
Here's that.
Yeah.
Or at least just share our favorites because um they were all somehow so different, strangely. But Omniverse was my favorite just because it was
Same.
it was just it in every aspect, it kind of pulled from each series in terms of like the tone. But it was also just like had the coolest villains for sure. Best story arcs, I think. And the art style was wacky, but it just made it stand out so much more. So Omniverse, hands down, my favorite.
My favorite is Alien Force,
I knew it.
which
I
is
was
weird because it gave me nightmares as a kid. Because
makes sense.
something about like face hugging alien monsters freaked me out as a kid
Yep.
because there was like a old like Justice League cartoon where that same
Oh,
event
yeah.
happened,
Sorrow.
with, like the starfish. I was like, because just zombies as a kid freaked me the fuck out. Now they're just like me. But yeah, my two favorite aliens come from Alien Force and Ultimate Alien.
Mhm.
So,
You might as well share.
kind of by Swampfire and Chromastone are my two favorite.
I'd just like to say on record, I had a feeling you'd be Alien Force. Mainly because when I think of Alien Force, it's like the darkest one, so I had a weird feeling you'd like it the most. But
Though Alien Force has my least favorite Ben design. One of my least favorites.
it's the same as Ultimate Alien.
I count Alien Force and Ultimate Alien as it's the same series, just
Okay,
part one, part two.
basically,
Also Ultimate Alien was worse overall,
I agree.
plot wise. Though the Ultimate Aliens was cool.
Mm.
But I don't like the like slicked down hair that Ben has in
I
that.
agree. I like
That's the
his
only
more,
thing I don't like.
the more untamed
I
hair
like
for
the
young
floofy
Ben
hair.
and Omniverse Ben. Yeah, superior.
Luffy, Untamed, perfect.
But-
Also, other reason for Alien Force, Kevin Levin.
That's true.
Just-
Turning Kevin into a good guy was one of the best things they could have done.
Yeah, maybe I like Kevin because he's edgy a little bit.
And because that makes sense. But let's give it to Ryan because Ryan hasn't had a chance to share his favorite series yet.
I mean, I put Omniverse as my favorite, but I did like because you know how Kevin kind of had like absorbed multiple things, but he was stuck like that for a little bit.
Yeah, like in Alien Force.
Yeah, Alien Force, and then
Yeah.
I don't remember which one it is, but there was like a bunch of new aliens like NRG, Armadillo, and all that.
Yeah, that was Ultimate Alien.
And then
Mhm.
Kevin absorbed all those.
Yeah, Ultimate Kevin. Yeah,
Yeah, that one I really liked. That was pretty cool.
right. Because that was the first arc of Ultimate Alien, and it had the villain Agrigor, who had the same power as Kevin. And then Agrigor almost absorbed power of Alien X, but then Kevin. What Kevin did was like, Ben, I'm gonna absorb the Omnitrix to turn into a giant mutant again. I'll probably turn evil, but it's the only way to save us.
Wait, I have a crucial question.
All right, ask away.
Okay, I did watch Ben 10 a lot as a kid. Alien Force was my favorite.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
Ben 10 is the one that clip is from, right? Where it's like, you gotta treat a girl like you treat a car.
Yeah.
Yes,
No,
yes,
Aaron,
that
you
is.
got that. That's backwards. Ben,
You gotta treat a car more like you treat a woman.
Penguin's like, go on. No. I
No.
sense I've made a mistake of some kind.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
Very good.
That definitely that's gonna sound great in the finished recording, but yes it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have two Omniverse fans, two Alien Force fans, good picks. I think we can all agree that the reboot is
No.
I haven't seen
uncomparable.
it.
It's uncomparable. You can't compare it to the others because it's its own continuity and it was dumbed down for children. So of course it's not going to be as good.
Yeah. It's just. Yeah.
Just a silly version of Ben 10 that was just made for younger kids to enjoy. And
They massacred my boy, Stinkfly.
You can have a kids show that's still good.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the ones that we talked about that were for kids, but were still like interesting for teenagers.
I don't like it whenever people are like, "Oh, it's just a kids show. You can't be like that." No, there can be good kids shows, and if a kids show is like egregiously bad, then
Yeah.
you can
Well, yeah,
criticize it.
Yeah.
I think people forget that kids aren't like mindless
True.
all of the time. Like if
Yeah.
there was so many shows as a kid that like sure they looked cool and they were goofy because they were like meant for kids, but I was like, no, this is dumb. This story's dumb and I don't want to watch it.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Mhm.
of course, like I'm not saying that it's only for those children, but like the demographic for the reboot wasn't like fans of Omniverse who wanted to see it go on. So
Yeah.
it's you can't really
Yeah.
compare it just because it was trying to do a new take on it that just doesn't hold up compared to what they were doing before.
That's a problem with like certain reboots is that they kind of have to. You can't really stray from the people that used to like it because they're not going to be happy.
Like
Yeah.
examples of reboots. I'm trying to think of one that actually does cater to the original fans. Can't think of one right now. I don't know, like the Voltron and She-Ra reboots. They're just like a modernized take on an old property, which the old audiences who are super old now can still enjoy, but also makes them approachable for new audiences. But things like the Ben 10 reboot, it's just for a new generation of young kids to be like Little Leaf and be like, "Whoa, that kid turns into aliens and he's a jerk." Ben's
Yeah.
actually a really annoying protagonist a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's also really
But, like-
stupid.
Mhm. Oh, definitely.
But
Definitely. Which
see-
is why.
I was just gonna say a lot of like looking back, his decisions were dumb. But I forget so much that in Alien Force through Omniverse, he's like 15 to 16. But the thing is, he doesn't talk or act like an actual 15-year-old. He just does dumb decisions
Yeah.
that one would make. He
Yeah.
honestly
Yeah,
he has the demeanor of like 17 or 18-year-old, not a freshman of high school. Because
Yeah.
Alien Force Ben is supposed to be in grade 9. Like, no way. I should be able to punt him.
I qualify Alien Force Ben. Canon age compared to his like maturity level, he acts like he's like 18
Yeah.
or 17. Going back to the reboot to I'm not even gonna say anything about the plot because I'm not watching it. I don't feel like it. The thing I'm gonna just say and point out and is the inconsistencies within like the alien design. Like you know how in like the original Ben 10, they all had like the white and black shirt type aesthetic,
Yes.
and like and then Ultimate Alien, like they keep that like kind of aesthetic,
And
but
Ultimate
then
Alien,
in like
for Ultimate Alien, they just got rid of the clothes for the aliens.
yeah, they
Which
just
was weird.
but in this reboot we have forearms with the white shirt from the original.
Mhm.
He blasts naked, accelerate, same thing, no special. Then Diamond Head has his yellow and black
Mhm.
type suit. Then Wrecking Ball is Wrecking Ball, no
Um,
clothes.
I'm sorry. Do you mean Cannonbolt?
Or Cannonbolt. It's been a while. It's been a
Really?
while. And now Upgrade is purple?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I like purple, but the black and white look way better. The black, white, and green look way better
Oh.
on original.
I think the purple, it does look good. I think what they were going for is just trying to make it a lot more colorful, and just make it more appealing to younger kids. We're like, wow, these colorful guys just look better as action figures, I guess. But I don't know.
Not really.
Well, with
Uh,
like with Stinkfly, they changed his entire color
oh
scheme
yeah,
to be more appealing to the eye. So
his color scheme and his entire proportion setup,
everything about him except for his power.
because he's now a bipedal superhero-looking person,
Yeah.
which is weird to me. Also, like it makes sense that like obviously not all aliens have like the green aesthetic.
Mhm.
Because duh, you can't do that for everything.
Yeah.
But on the ones that like it makes sense to do the green aesthetic for Ben 10, someone who's just green, you associate Ben with green.
Mhm.
Making Upgrade and Stinkfly non-green colors when they originally were is just weird.
I don't know. I like if you compare them to the past, then yeah, it's weird. But the blue and black and purple, I'm surprised you hate that so much because you love purple.
It's just like the the fact that it used two tones of purple. If it was like black body and like purple lines, then I'd be down.
I suppose. I don't know. I didn't have any issue with that one. It didn't matter anyway because they got rid of him after the first season.
Yeah.
I'd like to say on record, I didn't watch actively the Ben 10 reboot. I just kept tabs on like anything major, like season finales, to see if they were gonna do anything cool. So I know some of the coolest things that they did that were unique, like making Kevin their version of Albedo, which was really weird but neat. Uh,
Mhm.
but I think we'll cut the reboot slander there because again, none of us watched it fully. There's no point. It's the inferior installment of Ben 10. Is there any more praise we want to give to the core series, like maybe some of the things Omniverse did?
Omniverse, they had like I think my favorite like starting antagonist for like to open the series, the
Yeah,
Nemetrix,
Kyber.
because like the entire like thing is like Ben's getting cocky and thinks he's all that, and then his team gets split up, and it's like, oh, now I have to learn to not rely on the two people that I was relying on, and now I have to rely on the new guy.
Yeah, I
And
think
the whole like first two episodes is just him trying to figure out how to like work with Rook.
yeah, Kyber was just a really great villain, and every like culminating villain they had for the seasons was amazing. Like Kyber was great, and he tied into the second season for Malware, who was so cool. They did the Incursion invasion, which was also so cool because they did it as like a whole summertime event. And I think after that was the Albedo season, and the way they brought him back was awesome. Then they did the Galactic Monsters arc, where they like rebranded the show for that season. So cool. Then they did one where they had the multiverse Ben team up, going to an alternate Earth. Another one that I don't care to remember. And then ended with the Time War, which was honestly underwhelming, but still a good enough finale. I think if we have nothing else to add on the the original timeline and we're done shitting on the reboot timeline, do we want to get into something that we've discussed a little bit too thoroughly? A little thing on how
Yeah.
we would have rebooted Ben 10.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
I say no.
Okay, well, you're kicked out of the call. Ba-doop. Just kidding. We can't do that because legal reasons. We can't. So we're just gonna try this out here for the first time. Just a little segment that we're just gonna call the pitch, where um, we're just gonna pitch exactly what we said: a reboot for Ben 10, how we would do it, maybe what aliens we'd give Ben to start. Kind of like what we did in our Avatar episode when I explained what I would do for a new Avatar series. But we're just gonna try and throw this little um, reoccurring reoccurring little bit out where we decide when we're criticizing something, how could we have done it better? So that's where we're gonna go ahead on. But of course, doesn't count this time because we had a head start because Ryan, Ren, and I had a late night chat about Ben 10, and I ended up making like a concept art for a Ben redesign and way too much story details.
Yeah.
But there's just so much they could have done that I think they should have done. So should I start? I feel like I should, but at the same time, I've talked so much.
First off, darker take. We are not going like
Or maybe you could go over what you
Okay.
thought it should have. Yeah, there we go.
not kid friendly, not like uber kid friendly. What I mean, because oh god.
Yeah.
And for me, art style somewhere in between Omniverse and Ultimate Alien.
Do we want to throw on the screen that mock-up I did?
Yeah.
There it is.
Anyway, do you want to continue, Ren?
Yeah. Aliens basically get rid of the ones that do the same thing as other aliens for like the main set. It's like we're not going to have 3 brawler like aliens that all do the same type of thing, just punch hard.
Yeah.
And maybe you use ones that were less used in other series.
Mm-hmm.
Because Wrath and HugMonster have been used so much.
Oh my!
It's ridiculous.
I think when I was brainstorming the roster that I came up with, I don't think anyone else agreed or was like, yeah, that's perfect. Personally, getting a mix of classics and kind of stretching out, I would have picked Heat Blast, Forearms, Wild Nut, Accelerate, Chroma Stone instead of Diamond Head, Gray Matter, Upgrade, Echo, and Pesky Dust all the way from Omniverse because I think that scary little Dream Fairy was so underused.
I think the only thing I'd add is like some. Okay, my thought is Ben needs to handle threats in sky, air, and land.
Mhm.
Or sky, water, and land. I said sky and air. No,
Oh.
but Ben only has one water alien that I can remember. That
It's
isn't
fine.
like just water the element.
Oh, okay.
I mean aquatic. And that's
Well,
Ripjaws.
oh no, he's got Waka-Trout from Omniverse, who is the most useless alien ever.
Never using that thing. So
Good.
my thought would either be just use Ripjaw or come up with something new. Come up with something different.
Yeah, something new would be fun too.
Maybe just a Leviathan class alien.
That'd be kind of cool.
Aquatic
I think
an aquatic type, like just big and in the water. That's it. That's what we need.
I mean, they definitely strayed away from too many aquatic types because of Ripjaw's weakness, which is being on land.
Get it, legs. We good.
He had legs, but he started choking every time. Anyway, if you couldn't tell, we don't have anything else to say. That being said, we might actually have some bonus Patreon content because we never shut up. So if you're subscribed to our Patreon, you can go check that out.
Yeah, we're actually like just stuck in call this whole time. We never stop talking. I'm always recording 24/7.
Okay. Ignore what Ryan just said. It's not true. You don't need to be concerned. But in all seriousness, yes, if you haven't checked out our Patreon, please consider. You can literally donate $1 and have access to all of our exclusive content. And so if you do that, that basically makes you the coolest person on the planet. Just saying. But aside from that, Faith and Aaron both got taken out by David a little while ago. So the 3 of us, I think, are going to call it a night here before David catches us, because it's really hard to revive members. We're going to save our losses now. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't checked out any of our other videos, well,
And how dare you?
then please, I hope, maybe you'll consider check us out. All of our social media is available at Team Codered HQ. You can find the comics we make, all our other podcast episodes, and even more cool content coming your way. Thank you for sticking it through this whole episode, and we hope to see you next time we're on air.